Welcome to Rooted and Divine with me, Katelyn Paine, a podcast for women ready to shed old identities, heal, and align with their soul. Each week, we'll explore spiritual growth, healing, and personal stories that empower you to embody your truth. Rooted in humanity and fully alive as a divine soul. Hi, friends. Welcome back to the Rooted and Divine podcast. I'm so excited for you to listen to what we have coming up with Natalie Holbrook. I just wanted to speak to the collective for a moment. And I personally, I don't know if anyone else is feeling this way. I feel like there's a mixed bag happening. I'm in a tender spot. And I'm one moment I'm feeling like I'm on top of life, and the next moment I'm like, oh, I'm in grief, or oh, I'm in sadness, or oh, I'm in anger. And for me this week, the practice really has been making space to feel what I'm feeling, to name it without giving it too many stories, and noticing my own patterns of wanting to say, well, I feel this way because this person did XYZ, because this happened in the past, because this. Instead, for me, the practice really has been personal responsibility for every emotion that I feel, and not giving away my happiness, my safety, my well-being to any person in my life. And that is such a liberating practice when we can really take full responsibility for how we're feeling and not say, oh, well, if my husband acted differently, I would feel this way. If my friend acted differently, I would feel differently. And to really just be like, no, my happiness, my safety, my well-being, my inner joy, and my divinity is no one else's responsibility but my own. No one is responsible for me or my emotions. And I really feel like as we walk into this next golden age, that's really what we're coming into and what the energy this year is supporting. Natalie and I will be talking about, she specifically helps women in business connect to astrology and how to take advantage of astrology for making the most money. And, something else that we talk about that has also come up for me in the last week is how money and love are connected. And I know that that's not a new train of thought for the manifestation world. And like Maren Bach-Antonsen put it, really transitioning from manifestation to sacred creation. And being in that creation state where we are one with our highest selves, with God, with our divinity, and even making space for the parts of us that are might still be having a tantrum, having a panic attack, feeling depressed, but still showing up with the energy of I am whole, I am complete, and I'm currently having an experience of anger. And I'm currently having an experience of lack, but I am not lack. And I can still move forward even when I do not feel certain. I can still make aligned choices even when my vibration's not high and just joyful and high on life. And anyways, I pulled a little card just to ask our guides and angels and ancestors, whoever's with us here who loves us unconditionally, for any members of this Rooted and Divine community, what's happening for us right now. And I'm pulling from the Priestess Oracle. I know that if you're listening to this on a podcast, you won't see this, but I'll just explain it to you. I'm pulling from the Priestess Oracle, and I pulled the Ankh, and it's the key of life. And I was wearing my Ankh just by coincidence or synchronicities, divine synchronicities. But it says this, and I feel like it's just needs to be said. And it says, beloved, you are holding the Ankh in the palm of your hand right now, the most sacred key which opens up all dimensions and timelines, which shapes realities and weaves all forces of creation. This powerful symbol is the geometry of existence itself, the blueprint of all that is. The Ankh comes to you as a confirmation that you are ready to step into your multidimensional power and take your place in the shaping of the new civilization on Earth. Remembering and embodying this power is your birthright. And the time has come for you to unlock the sacred dimensions of our reality. The Ankh's presence is confirmation that you are here to weave new realities that have long awaited your presence. You are a co-creator of our sacred existence, and as you hold the Ankh, you hold the potential to manifest a new life on Earth. The Ankh connects you to the infinite flow of life force and reminding you that you are part of the divine architecture of the universe. So whatever is happening to you this week, I was on a call with a bunch of sisters today, and every sister had spoken to experiencing some type of emotional pain, physical pain, mental pain, and just an overall feeling of sludginess or density. May we bless our lives and be our own best cheerleaders and be the type of women who can hold space for multiple truths at once and hold space for multiple parts of ourselves at once. And let everything that is coming up in our path and in our lives right now be a sacred remembrance, the path to remembering that we were always love, and not letting whatever density, whatever illusion, whatever distortion, whatever burden, whatever pattern that feels sticky or emotional, it might feel like it's all that there is in the world, but can you hold yourself in that? And can you let yourself be held in that by Divine Mother's love? And I'm excited for you guys to listen to this episode. It is a powerful one. I'm going to read her bio so you have an understanding of who she is. Natalie Holbrook is a professional astrologer, business strategist, and educator known for integrating evidence-based frameworks with intuitive, soul-aligned leadership. After 16 years in business, coaching in sales, and scaling a startup from 1 to 3 million, she merged her love of astrology with entrepreneurship and is passionate about helping visionaries, leaders, and creatives build using their inherent gifts and living out their purpose and getting paid well for it. Natalie is the founder of the Richly Coded Formula, a method that uses astrology as a strategic tool to optimize performance, messaging, and income growth for those mission-driven entrepreneurs. Alongside her mentorship, Natalie has a suite of digital projects, trainings, and subconscious reprogramming tools that help leaders activate their money codes, embody their wealth blueprint, and build sustainable success from the inside out. She teaches that wealth expands when strategy meets soul and supports visionaries in creating a legacy that is both profitable and profoundly aligned. I know you guys are going to have a ton of takeaways and just even takeaways that you can look at your own chart with. And she has another really exciting offer coming out, and I will link that. You'll hear about it in the episode, and I'll link it in the bio. And until then, friends, don't forget that you can email me if you have any questions or concerns or a life situation in which you want guidance or help on. You can email me what's happening in your life and I'll respond, because what's happening to one is a thread that's happening to us all, and we are moving through this together. And one thing that I wanted to say that just came to me before we begin the episode is on my group call today with my sisters, someone had said, like, go into the emotion. Whatever it is you're feeling, feel that. Let yourself rage. Let yourself get primal about it. Let yourself scream, hit a pillow, cry your eyes out in your own time and space, and then come out of that and bless yourself and say your I ams, say some affirmations. Let the energy rise back up again so that you can equally feel the pain, the burden, the suffering, but then also be the person who blesses your life and sees the magnificent being that you are, and be the person that blesses your own life and reminds yourself to continue on this path, because your path is perfect for you and wherever you're at is exactly perfect in this exact moment in time. And I hope you can take heart in that and you're not alone. And I love you with all my heart and enjoy this episode. Hello, beautiful souls. Welcome to the Rooted in Divine podcast. Today, we have a really special guest. Today, we're talking about how strategy meets the soul and why 2026 is a major shift in visibility and leadership for women. And to talk about that, I am bringing on Natalie Holbrook. Natalie, welcome.
Hello, thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Yes, I'm so excited for you to be here. Natalie, as you guys will have already heard, is an astrologer that meets strategic and she drops money codes. So, Natalie, I would just like to start out with you've lived both sides. You've lived in the tech scaling, work hard, go hard world, and then you're kind of now merging astrology and intuitive leadership. And take us through that journey of how you started and how you kind of got to where you are now.
Yeah, oh my goodness. Well, my background is sales. So before I knew astrology, I was always doing some form of sales, whether I even knew it or not. I used to live in Las Vegas when I was 23. As you and I have in common, was raised Mormon and left that religion. I think there's something about being raised Mormon where you naturally become a salesperson also because there's missionary culture that we're all very aware of like, yeah, invite everyone, bring everyone, include everyone, you
Mhm.
know? So I kind of always actually had this mindset of invitation, right? And that I didn't even realize that sales was the same thing as inviting someone or enrolling someone into things. And so, anyways, when I left that religion, I moved to Vegas. And I moved to Vegas because I was so excited to be around people who had big visions. And it wasn't just about, let's go to the club and party. There was definitely that. But it more so was, oh my gosh, I just met this billionaire who flew in on a private jet, or I just met the person who is, Steve Wynn, the owner of Wynn Hotels, or the person who's starring in, the Circus Soleil show. And there were so many opportunities. And so I became really obsessed with opportunities, actually, and how we can create them. And I personally grew up in the Bay Area. And so after I lived in Vegas, I moved back home to the Bay Area, San Francisco, California, which is also Silicon Valley, where there's all these startups. And it was just kind of the thing that you did back then. It was like, get a job, start in sales if you're kind of hungry and looking for something. And I actually really wanted to be more so in marketing and events because I just wanted to have fun. I wanted to throw parties and do events and talk to people and promote things. But I didn't realize that they were kind of like one or the other, or they really went together. It wasn't one or the other. And so, yeah, I landed jobs working in sales and then started my own little initiatives within every role that I had. I would always be like, oh, we're going to do a field marketing thing, or we're going to take off and go do a road show. I was always creating something. And I look back and I know that I was always creating something so that I could be free, so that I didn't have
Mm,
to live in the office, so that I could go and kind of do my own thing, which is really just the path of an entrepreneur. And then fast forward about 5 or so years, I learned astrology, and it turned into this thing where I was like, oh my gosh, astrology also can show you how to best make money, how to use all of these tools for business, how to understand what your gifts are. And so in the last little bit, I've combined all of this together. And so now utilize astrology for how to really be in your purpose, and also
mm.
how to actually use it for selling, for social media, for all of the things that all of us entrepreneurs need today.
I love that so much. And I also want to follow up. What are your big three? So we all know.
Yes. So I'm a Taurus sun, Gemini
Mm.
moon, and Leo rising.
And how do those three relate to your strategic strategy? How have you optimized your big three for what you do today?
Well, first of all, Taurus is all about building, and Taurus is like the show me the money sign. Taurus just wants money. Taurus is like, how do I become rich? And it's either like I'm rich or I marry rich, basically. And Cher is a Taurus as well, and she has that famous quote where it's like, "Mom, I am a rich man." And so that's kind of the Taurus energy of like, how do I build something so that I can actually live with my very expensive taste, right?
Mm,
Um, But Taurus also is about worthiness, and so there's always this journey of figuring out, like, "Do I feel like I deserve this?" And then my Gemini energy, Gemini is, like, very playful, very communicative. Gemini is a very natural salesperson because it's kind of like the mayor, like, it wants to know everybody, it wants to talk to everybody, it wants to be in everybody's business, so there's that component, and then the Leo is really, I think a lot of people know Leo as, like, "Oh, it's showy and gold and flashy and all of that." And yes, that's true. But at the end of the day, Leo is really about like leadership and how is it that we lead with our hearts and make people feel good and really bring just more love to the world.
I love that. That is so awesome. And what is like for the person who's like, I love astrology, but I'm not an astrologist. I just kind of have an app and I look at your profile and I see what's happening in the world. What do you say to these people who are coming around to like, how do they know how to have strategy within their astrology? What are things that they could look for in their chart? Because I know when you did a
Absolutely.
reading for me, so Natalie did a reading for me a few weeks ago, and she's like, oh, your chart, entrepreneur, 100%, tons of sales energy. And then she's
Yeah.
like, you also have a lot of things in your chart she's like, that Natalie had told me about my chart that it was like, I was meant to forge my own path. So, can you speak a little bit about the chart and maybe just a small glimpse of how someone who is like new to thinking about astrology in a strategic way, what they could look for?
1,000,000%. So the number one thing is I always say look to your rising sign because the rising sign, especially if you're an entrepreneur with a personal brand specifically, the rising sign is how others see you. And it's also just how you kind of view the world. It's almost like the glasses in which you view the world. And a lot of people are like, but isn't that my sun sign? It is, but the beautiful thing about the rising sign is like actually in the way that the chart was created, the sign that was rising up the moment that you were born, that's literally what you're rising into. Like, it's so
Um,
cool. So just to think about it from like a, perspective of thousands and thousands of years ago, how it was created. But you want to look to your rising sign as like one of the very first things, because that's going to give you a hint into what is the way that I need to show up in order for people to really receive me, right? And that in itself is social media. That in itself is sales. That is also like what you get to become confident in your gifts of. And if that's part of your purpose. So that's one of the first ones. I also like to say look to your moon sign because your moon sign, the moon, if we look at it from a psychological aspect, it's actually what you need and it's your emotional well being. It's also where you go when you're maybe stressed as well. And so if we think about it through the perspective of work, it's like, well, you need to do this thing. And often, if we are not doing the thing that our moon sign is good at, we're not going to actually feel fulfilled. And so looking at, my moon sign being Gemini, if I'm somehow not communicating with people or if I'm not also constantly learning something new, that's why astrology is great and business is great because you can never learn too much. Otherwise I wouldn't feel good, right? And remind me, what is your moon sign again?
I'm a Pisces sun, a Capricorn moon, and a Cancer rising.
Okay, yes. So with your Capricorn moon, it's like you need to be building something that you feel like you're leaving the earth with, right? Like you don't want to just die and like no one remembers you, not to be morbid, but it's like you want to say like what am I actually doing here? What am I leaving not just for myself and to be remembered as, but what am I leaving for my family? What is it that I'm doing that also is honoring the wisdom within me and how can I build something that, yes, does also produce income and produces, purpose.
I love that. What about could you give it a little short clip of each sign? Is that in your bandwidth?
Yeah.
What do you think? I'm like, I just know when I'm listening to these things and the listener goes for it, and when the podcast guest, I'm like, I want them to speak about my sign, like maybe just a little sentence about
Totally,
what
let's do
each
it.
sign could take away.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So, okay. So I want to also frame this too that as I'm going through, if you have, and for anybody who knows their astrology or pull up your chart as we're doing this, but as I
Mhm.
go through the signs, know that if this is for your rising sign, like let's say we'll start with Aries, right? So if you're an Aries sun, then this is going to be something that you naturally embody, but that you're also still kind of like learning how to shine in this. If
Mm.
you have this as your rising sign, this is what you're rising into and what other people are going to naturally feel from you. So it's like if people are going to naturally feel that from you, you might as well go all the way. You know, like me being a Leo rising, so many people will look at me or they'll feel my energy and they're like, "Are you a Leo?" And I'm like, "No," but then it's my rising sign. And so I'm like, well, I might as well just play the Leo card because like that's what people are feeling. So when I go all the way in, then it profits me basically and them. And then the moon sign, just know that this is going to be like your emotional need that you need to kind of do work in this way. And then the last one to pull in is also to look at your Venus sign because
Mm,
Venus is how you actually make money. So, okay, Aries is going to be all about movement and speed, personal development, being a leader. Aries is all about being very courageous and going first and trailblazing. Aries is also very physical. It's very much about what is the body, what is the health, and what is the beauty, right? So it's like everything that we see. Taurus is going to be about how is it that you're cultivating something that is luxury or that is super high value. Taurus is also very much connected to the earth and connected to pleasure, connected to, again, worthiness. It's like we want things that are nice. And so it's like the organic food and the high count sheets, you know, like all of that. And helping people also to come into their bodies and their sensuality and pleasure. And then Gemini, again, is going to be anything communication, sales, also people, networking, speaking, channeling, all of that. Cancer, a lot of people see Cancer as like, oh, it's the mother, but Cancer is so deep. I said this in our masterclass the other day. Like when people are like, Cancer is only the mom or the crab, I'm like, that's basic, bitch. We got to go deeper. Cancer is actually like the creatrix, right? Like that is the
mm,
code of the woman and also the code of Cancer is what are you creating and what is it that you're building that can enhance either community or even bring in more emotional intelligence or emotional safety. And it's really about like the roots. So helping people with like the roots of their business or the roots of their, you know, inner world, things like that. Also very tied to ancestors. Then Leo. Leo is going to be all about having fun, being creative, being playful, being magnetic just by being you. It's very much too about leading and being from the heart is really important for Leo. Self expression is kind of the word for Leo as well. Then when we get into Virgo, Virgo is about service, but it's also about the little details. And so a lot of Virgo energies are very connected to health and wellness and how is it that we can serve, you know, the people who are sick or be in nutrition or be in fitness, something along those lines. But then there's also this element of Virgo that's very creative and like fashion and styling and music and even like analytics and little details like organizing things. Like my friend who has a Virgo moon, she's the most organized person. I used to pay her to come organize my house. So like that type of energy, right? Okay, then we get into Libra. Libra is all about partnerships and beauty, really creating beauty and creating balance and harmony, and also about like how is it that you are bringing people together. Then Scorpio is about power. Scorpio really is like turning power, like transforming power. And Scorpio does really well with emergency type of situations. So let's say that someone's like a nurse or a doctor, or they do something where they're looking at like deep shadow work or something along those lines. And very like profound, meaningful work. Psychology also, you know, runs with Scorpio, and anything that's very mystical goes with Scorpio as well. And then when we get into Sagittarius, these are our explorers. These are the people who need freedom. They need to learn, they need to teach, they need to travel, they need to use their voice. It's like very big, loud energy. And it doesn't mean that the person is big and loud, but that there's something loud within them that wants to be birthed. And they need to like be on planes, like they need to be
mm,
traveling and moving around and kind of bringing wisdom to others. Capricorn is going to be all about like what is it that we're doing where we're creating something timeless, where we're bringing in legacy, where we're bringing in, you know, the future foundations for our family and for success. But also Capricorn has this very deep ancient wisdom within them. It's very like an old like ancient like sage type of energy where it just knows things. It's very mature quickly. And then let's see where we at. Aquarius. Aquarius
We're doing
is
good. You're almost there.
yeah, we're almost done. Aquarius is all about the future and about radicalizing ideas and future shifting and being innovative, being disruptive, saying, let's do things new, let's do things that are a little bit weird, even, and let's kind of let's rock the boat, let's rock the status quo. And it's funny, it's kind of like the alien of the zodiac. It loves electronic things, like whether it's electronic music or just like things that are very techy, like it does really well with that. But Aquarius at the end of the day also is about social justice and activism. And how is it that we're really taking the inner genius that lives within you and then bringing that into the world? And then lastly is Pisces. And Pisces is so creative, so spiritual. It's a visionary. And I think that often with the Pisces energy, we can get confused and say, oh, it's like really, and it's emotions and it's only this like spiritual guru. But it's such a visionary for anything. I know a lot of people who have either Pisces energy in their signs or in the houses, and they are leaders. They're like architects. Like, Albert Einstein was a Pisces, Steve Jobs was a
Mm.
Pisces, and then so many artists are Pisces. And so there's usually this thing where it kind of feels like you're connected to the other side of the veil, or there's something else that is channeling through you to bring more oneness to the world.
Wow, that's amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that because I know that
Yeah.
the listeners will be like, okay, I feel included. I feel like I
Yeah, go
have
get all the
a
cards.
snapshot of like what my signs are. So now take us through. We have an understanding of like your tech, into astrology. All of us are caught up on our astrology. And then once you started getting into astrology, how did you notice that affecting your strategic, like the way that you presented in your business? What were the main differences you saw when you started really living and going all in on your astrology with your business?
My gosh, so many things. Well, first of all, like there's so much, like just that was just a tiny piece of it because that was the placements, right? So you can look and see what are my natural gifts and how I can show up, right? And one of the biggest things I think for us as entrepreneurs is the first thing that you have to have is a really solid offer. And we can offer something or we can create a service, but we also have to look at, is this meeting my needs? Like, is this going to actually make me happy to do for many years? Because we don't want to put our all into something that is just going to be for a year or two, right? Like we want it to be sustainable and long lasting. So that was really important for me to notice because when I actually first started my business, the first version of my business was astrology with subconscious reprogramming. And it was really heavy work where I was dealing with people's traumas, and I was able to hold that because I have a lot of other placements that are kind of intense. And so it was like, let's dive right in. We're going to get into it. But it got to a point where I actually developed adrenal fatigue and I felt like I was carrying everybody else's energy. I didn't know energetic hygiene. I didn't know all of these things. And so then when I looked at my chart deeper and I really started to realize, wait a minute, how do I use this for business? I looked to my moon sign and my Venus. So the places of what I emotionally need, and then also how I make the best money. And that Gemini energy that lived there, it was not being turned on. Like it was almost like I needed to have fun. Like Gemini is like a child. Like it's like the kid of
Mhm.
the zodiac. Gemini and Aries are like those kid energies. And I needed to be able to have almost more of that like playfulness and lightness is really the word. And so that was kind of the first thing. And then the second thing that I did is I also really started to time everything that I did what was going on with the outside astrology, so the transits. And that has made the biggest difference for me. And the cool thing is that there's always times to do stuff. It's not like only once a year can you launch or whatever. It's like you can literally look to what day the moon is. Like when I had my masterclass the other day, the moon was in Leo, which is my rising sign. And
Mm.
there's also something that we all have. It's called the part of fortune. And the part of fortune is one of your money makers. And so the money maker of the part of fortune is like whenever you have things that are happening around the part of fortune. So let's say the moon in the sky hits where that part of fortune is on your chart. That's an opportunity for a really fortuitous abundant day. And I ended up having that day because I planned it, right? And I also just felt so good. So you want to kind of look to a few things like the moon moves signs every 2.5 days. So you can plan your entire life around this. And I don't plan my entire life around it because that would be a little too anal, I think. But like, I definitely plan big events or master classes or, things, sometimes even my social media. If I don't look at what time it is or, when it is, and something bombs, I'm like, "Oh, shoot, what was going on that I didn't check?" And then
Oh,
sometimes, like, I remember the first time I had a reel go super viral was on a full moon that was hitting my midheaven, which represents the energy in which you do your career. And it was like this
wow.
amazing week where I was also giving talks that week. I signed up with my mentor, like, just all of these huge things were happening, so there's a lot when we align with the timing.
Wow, that is awesome. And tell me a little bit more about why does Venus have something to do with with you said Venus has something to do with how you make money, right? Or the energy in which you make money?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. So, okay, so there's actually 7. So I created this whole formula. It's called the richly coated formula. And in it, we have what I call the diamonds, which show you your actual purpose. And then we have what's called the money makers. And so the money makers are Venus, Jupiter, Pluto, and then there's a bunch of houses. So the second house, the eighth house, and then we also have the part of fortune, which is this part of it's this point in the sky that a lot of astrologers don't ever talk about. It's like this old ancient point. It's like an Arabic point actually that they used back in like the Babylonian times. I'm like old school though. I'm like, let's go back to all the ancient stuff. Like it's so
I love
cool.
it. Yeah.
Yeah. So all of these planets and these houses, they represent it. And Venus is also known as the planet of abundance and love and beauty. And so when we lean into the things that we actually feel good doing, that's how we magnetize. It's kind of funny because it's really just kind of like law of attraction, where it's like
Mhm.
when you actually are doing the things where you feel magnetic, that's how money and love come to you because money and love are the same root. That's why Venus rules both money and love.
Money and love. I've heard that in several different places. So you're just looking to see where your Venus is within the zodiac sign, and then that'll help you understand. So your Venus is in what? I wanna kinda understand that a little bit more. I know you have a bunch of different places within the richly coded formula, but I feel like
Yeah.
the Venus sign will give someone a taste of like, "Okay, whoa, maybe I was off," because so many of us are coming from our deconditioning, and astrology,
Yes.
human design, these types of systems really just help us come back into alignment and with who we really are. And so sometimes we kind of forget what we really love because we go outside of ourselves so much to try to force success, visibility, leadership, entrepreneurship, because we're like, okay, well, this is what this strategic person told me, this coach told me. And, anyways, I really want to give people permission to take back their power through the lens of astrology. So, tell us a little bit. Give me an example of your Venus. What is that?
Totally. Okay, so my Venus is in the sign of Gemini. And so for
Okay.
me, I make so you can literally say, my Venus is in blank sign, and so I make money
Mm.
by. Like it's literally that
Okay.
simple. And so then
Yeah.
you would get into like, what are all of the things that that sign does essentially? So my Venus in Gemini is about teaching, it's about communicating, it also like Gemini rules the hands, so each sign actually rules a body part. So for me, it's like when I'm using my hands. So when I'm like designing, like when you go to my page, like I design everything. Like I do all my social media. So there is this piece of me also being like artistic and creative and a designer, and speaking and like channeling. Like when I'm looking at someone's chart and when I'm, just talking, I'm just letting it all come through. Like I'm not like thinking about it beforehand and so it is kind of this energy of how is it that you can be a conduit? And then you look to the house that it's in, and the house is like the second layer. And so then mine is in the 11th house, and the 11th house is all about technology. It's about groups and organizations. It's about doing things that are very like future oriented as well. And things that are also kind of weird. So astrology is not mainstream, right? And so I know that it's money when I really go into like, okay, what's like niche, right? And we can look at yours
Mm.
too. We can look at your chart and see where is yours.
I would be happy to do that. Let's do it if you would like to.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna
yeah.
say no. Oh, my Venus is in Aries.
Perfect. Okay, so yes, Venus and Aries in the 10th house. Okay, this is cool. So your Venus, so you make money. This is part of why I was like, girl, you're an entrepreneur because you make money by going first, being courageous, by being brave, by you know, Venus in Aries is like it has to just move. It has to do things. It has to like be a starter. And it's very much about being a force and doing it, right? Like it's not really here to wait, but it's also here to be a leader. So this can mean that you have to kind of
Mm,
break out of maybe what you were born in, like we've talked about, or break out of something that you say, I have to go and essentially forge my own and be that leader. And there is something where it's also about coming back into like oneness with the self, because Aries is about the self. It's the planet of like the mantra, or sorry, the sign. The mantra is I am. And so it's looking at like,
mm,
what does that mean for you or people you teach to be I am and to love themselves and to come into alignment with like who they are. And there is this component where, you know, whether you've done this in like another life or in this life, like where there could even be something with like beauty or makeup or fitness or movement overall, because Aries does need to have that like me focus, right? And that's physical and internal and spiritual. And then the 10th house is going to be all about that career house area. So that's where it also is about like, how is it that I can um, do something that is known and recognized and seen by people. So there is this energy of you being known for what you do and helping a lot of women, like being known for helping a lot of women. Because whenever we have Venus in our career house, it means too that there's going to be an energy of women.
yeah, it's so crazy. Like everything you said, I'm like, it's you have snippets of these things like crumbs your whole life of like, okay, I think
Yes.
this is it. I think this is it. And then you get programmed, or then someone said, then some type of trauma or wounding happens to you. And then you're like, oh, I don't think that that is it. But I mean, I was a hairdresser for 14 years and like
You were?
beauty
I
and
didn't even know
yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah, I was a hairdresser for 14 years. I really loved it, and I was, like, really passionate about it because I really love helping women feel beautiful, and I love that one-on-one time with them, and I love that time to just, like, really feel their energy and help them kind of unwind knots that they feel within their energy, and anyways, there just got to be a point where it was like, I feel a lot more passionate about the beauty of consciousness and the soul now than I do about the hair, so it was
Mhm.
time for me to leave, but I
Yeah,
when you brought that up with about the beauty, I was like, "Oh, that makes so much sense." Because there was
totally.
also a time where I was trying to buy a gym. I was trying really hard to start a gym.
Don't look this up. Oh my gosh.
But, like, God just kept closing all the doors, and it was like, "No, this isn't your path, this isn't your path." I was like, "I swear that this should be my path." And,
Okay, this is
anyways, it
like
was
what we
never
need
meant
to
to be, and I'm
spend
so
this.
happy I never went down it.
Yeah, I feel like this is whenever anyone questions astrology, I'm like, we send them this podcast because like that right there, like the
Yeah.
hairdresser and like the gym, like we cannot make this up. And it's not like
I
you're like
know,
an Aries sun
yeah.
too, you know? So like without knowing the
Mhm.
entire rest of the chart, you wouldn't have known that. Like we wouldn't have known that.
Yeah. That's what I love, the permission that astrology and these other systems, like, they just give to you. You're like, "Oh, that was always innate, but I thought that that was the part of me that was broken, or I thought that that was the
Yes.
part of me that I needed to hide." And then often, every time I come to a deeper understanding or I find a new karma, I'm like, "Oh my gosh, that was always within me, and I was ignoring it." And that's what's so fun about this whole system. So fun.
Completely. Completely. It's the
So,
greatest validation.
yes, I want to transition to you said that when you show up in connected authority, the world can't do anything but notice and pay you. So, through astrology, what does authority look like? And how does like the richly coded formula help us understand our authority?
Absolutely. Well, I think that kind of to your point of what you just said, it's like it gives you that passion because I think so often we get like the breadcrumbs of where we're going or what we've studied and what we're supposed to do. And we're like, okay, I think that I may be an expert at this, but I don't know if I can call myself one or whatever. And it's like the beauty of seeing your birth chart is it's like it is right in front of you, babe. Like you cannot deny it. You are supposed to be this. It says it right here, And so the moment that you can be like, oh my gosh, wait a minute, I felt like this my entire life. And finally something is confirming, it gives you that thing of like just freaking own it. Just claim it, just be it. And the more that
Mm.
then you are connected to that authority, that's when people feel it from you. I know so many people, friends, clients, myself, and, me 6 years ago or whatever, where we were so afraid to say, like, I'm a health coach or I'm an astrologer or I'm a guide for women. And really afraid to kind of claim that title and take up space. And the moment that you can connect to that, that's when other people are like, oh, you are this? Oh, you think that you're good enough to do it? Okay, well, let me pay you
Mm.
then. you know?
Yeah.
Because someone wants to pay someone that's like, I think I can help you.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I to my
Maybe I could do it. Yeah.
right, like, I mean, even, like, think about, like, your hair, like, you as a hairdresser, like, with somebody like, "Yeah, I think I can cut your hair like that." It's like, "Wait, do you think, or are you like, 'Babe, I got you. I know. We're gonna do this,'"
Mm.
right? Like, that level of conviction is what astrology also promises you.
Yeah. How do you see that within your clients, like when they're posting content or trying to create a launch or a strategic thing? Like, where do you see them slipping up and not claiming that? Like, what are common belief systems or, I don't know, misunderstandings about astrology that you see are continuous stumbling blocks?
Yeah, I mean, well, I think that, like, most of my clients aren't, like, astrologers, but I think overall for everybody, it's like, who am I? Like, we have to do the mindset work first, we have to
Mm-hmm.
first go into, do you really believe in yourself? And you have to show up with that conviction. You have to show up with that level of confidence. And that's kind of like the first barrier, right? And that's the beauty of bringing the astrology in that can show that. And then I think that in the terms of social media, a lot of people just don't have a strategy. Like they're kind of like, okay, I'm just going to post like what this other person did, or this reel got a lot of people likes, and so I'm going to use the same sound, or I'm going to do the same trend. But that's actually what I'm teaching in this new program is you have to do what aligns and works to you. And, it's not like astrology is like, here's your exact social media plan, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
that would be great. I wish it was. But there still is this level of, okay, well, we can see what type of energy do you need to show up with? What kind of authority do you need to claim in the areas of your expertise and in your offering? And also, for some people, they're going to do well where they're like talking to their camera. Some people are going to do well where it's maybe faceless. Some people are going to do really well where it's beautiful carousel slides, and it's combining and figuring out like what do you also like to do and what feels good to you and natural, and then creating from there. And then once we kind of find your thing, your astrology usually shows that too. And it's many things. It's not just like only one style, right? Like we still have
Mm-hmm.
to have a level of versatility.
Yeah, and what I'm seeing too, I mean, hairdresser, I was an entrepreneur. I played really small within the hairdressing world, but I'm seeing a contrast now of, we're always talking about like, okay, go inside, the answers are already there. And then you kind of start, there's a very fine balance for me of like, okay, I'm relying on astrology, I'm relying on human design, I'm pulling it back, and now I'm going in and I'm asking my own intuition. And I love the play, the little liminal space between, it's like you go to astrology, you get the map, you're like, wow, I didn't realize that I could claim that. I didn't realize that that was so inherent. And then you have to practice feeling that in the body and feeling what that would show up like. Because oftentimes, like we talked about, it's been something that you've repressed because that's just kind of the human experience is that you forget who you are and then you come back into remembrance. And so it's like not, executing the strategy right away always. Sometimes it's like, okay, I'm going to do the inner work. Why do I feel uncomfortable coming on camera? Or I'm just going to create a small moment this week on Instagram where I'm showing up with the energy of playfulness, where I really like to usually show up with the energy of more maybe Capricorn structured. I have a bullet point list. And it's like creating these small moments so that you can have safety within your body, so that all parts of you, this is what I've really been learning over the last year. I mean, my whole life, really, but just the journey, so that all parts of us can come with us on this journey to entrepreneurship, to being the women that we dream of being. Because really, in the end, it's not necessarily about, because you'll talk to any entrepreneur. If you just all of a sudden overnight made money and you were like $1 million, millionaire, you would be stoked, but you wouldn't be fulfilled, because you didn't become the person that you knew that you could be. You didn't become. And we need to become. And I love that astrology, just like breadcrumb into the self. Okay, I'm creating safety in the body, and I'm visualizing myself being my highest version, and then going back in, doing the inner work. And I think astrology always is just giving us that permission and the little like signpost, while still giving us the capacity to like figure out what that really means for me to be. What does that mean for me to be playful, to show up? What does that mean for me to be grounded or, rooted, whatever the version of the sign is that we're doing. So,
Yes, 1,000,000%. And I think that there's like this step of comparison that we have to let go of, because
yeah.
we all are going to show up differently. Some people are going to get on and do a full get ready with me day, and some people are like, that's my worst nightmare.
Yeah.
And like knowing that that's okay. Every, thing, it's so much of it is trial and error, right? With business, and like not being so attached and just being like, how do we make everything fun and make it an experiment,
Mm,
and then find
absolutely.
your way. Mhm.
There's just no other way. Otherwise, you'll just kill yourself, and like you're just a frail of a human.
Yeah.
So, Natalie, you've said so many times on your Instagram that 2026 is made for you, that it's like the year. So, give us kind of like the headline themes of 2026. What can we expect astrologically, and why is this the year that women should rise, and why is it set up for us to rise?
Percent. Well, I like to say that 2026 is the year of freedom. And it's like, if
Hmm.
you go after it, though, right? Like, and there can be things that will happen that are going to potentially force you into freedom. And it's also asking you to not hold on to safety or hold on to your old self and your old ways of being, right? And so, the biggest things that are happening is that we have so many planets that are shifting that have been in signs for a really long time. So we have Saturn, which I call Daddy Saturn, right? Daddy Saturn. And I
I
call it
love
Daddy
that.
Saturn because Saturn, it's so funny. Saturn is the Catholic nun, or like the old grandpa or the dad of the zodiac that's like, you better do the work and you better do this, right? And it forces you to do that, but it forces you to do that for a good cause, right? Like, so afterwards, it's like a PhD program. You're in school for 10 years, but then you get this big payout, or you're an entrepreneur working your butt off, but then you make $1 million, right? So that is the energy, and it's moving into Aries, and it's moving in actually February 13th. So I like to say it's kind of like a pre-Valentine's Day gift that we're all getting, because it's been in Pisces, where we've all been working hard on like our boundaries and our mental health and our spirituality. And now it's saying it is now time for you to master you. And so that's the energy that Saturn is bringing. And then we also, going into Aries, just had Neptune move in. And Neptune is in a sign for like 15 years. And Neptune brings in this greater level of imagination, of creativity, of flow, of spirituality. It's kind of like subconscious guidance as well, and guidance that can be so felt but not seen. And so that's something that we really want to take advantage of, these energies. So there's so much of this Aries fire of like, this is you time. And then we also have Jupiter moving into Leo, which is going to be happening in July. And Leo is literally the most main character energy possible. It's like the star of the show, and also like, again, coming from the heart. And then we have the North Node, which is the destiny in the sky for everyone, moving into Aquarius. And so when it moves into Aquarius, this is like we also need you in your genius, but we need you in your genius to be making an impact for yourself, but also for the collective. And so it's really combining all of these things that are about you and people. And then we also have Uranus, which is the planet of ideas and excitement and things that happen just suddenly, kind of like a lightning bolt moment. And that's moving into Gemini. And Gemini is the sign again of community and ideas and teaching. And so I do think that we're going to have a lot of people who have spiritual gifts and kind of this ability to channel be able to be that, but they again have to be confident with doing so.
Yeah, because you mentioned several strategies, and so she's putting out a new program called the Social Accelerator. And within that, you talk about drive, safety, heart-led leadership, intuitive channel, community. So
Well,
translate that to us, like what does that feel like in business terms? And what should we be doing differently this year with those energies?
totally. Well, first of all, show up. Like
Yeah.
that is the number one thing is like get online because, social media sometimes gets such a negative rap, right? Or we get stuck in comparison or we get stuck in like, oh my gosh, it's so hard. But nothing is hard when you practice. Like when you
Mhm.
just start to show up and you do it and you even put that intention out there and do the mindset work of like, this gets to be easy. This gets to be something that I'm doing and I'm good at, right? So it's like, one, show up, two, join the social accelerator,
Yeah.
or do something where you can have some type of mentor that will also give you a roadmap. Because when you actually do learn these strategies, it's like you have a blueprint and it's taking the guesswork out, and once you take the guesswork out, that's where it just becomes simple. And then I think that the other piece of this is really being in your heart and knowing what are you doing, right? Like why are you doing this, and put everything with that intention and actually sit with yourself and visualize and feel the other people that you want to be supporting, right? Like if you are working with women or if you are a nutritionist or whoever your ideal client is, like feel them call in their heart as well so that you're also in that space of coming together.
I love that. What else would you want anyone to know about what they could expect from the joining the social accelerator? Who is the program for and how can it really accelerate their business this year?
Yes, absolutely. So there's really like three components to this, and it's for any woman who is an entrepreneur who has a brand that is, they're kind of the face of it, and where they're either a coach or a creative or a healer, or even if they have a company and they just want to get more clients and be seen, right? So that's who this is for. And it's for anyone also who's felt like they've tried everything and it just hasn't worked. And maybe they're like, I need a different way, I need a whole new method. But it's so much more than just like, here's a template for how to show up online, right? Like it's really deeply about kind of three things. One is like how to actually get clients and get those aligned clients by your messaging. Like, what is your message? What are you putting out there into the world? Therefore, who are you attracting? Because we can sometimes sign clients and we're like, oh, that was not who I wanted to work with, or oh, that was like a big lesson from the universe, right? And so making sure that your messaging is really attracting the right people to you, and then getting super clear on what is your offer? How much are you charging? Like, is this offer in alignment with who you are? And the cool thing about this is I personally love to be in it with my students. I'm not just like, there's hundreds of people in here and like, good luck. It's like you will have my eyes on your offers, on what you're doing, and then on your socials. And so, really learning how is it that through social media you can glow up. Like you can
Yeah.
know how to actually, first of all, create certain aesthetics, create an energy, create a brand, and then also like what makes social media good and how to have this kind of step by step roadmap and infuse yourself, your authenticity, and your heart into it.
It's her masterclass was so awesome, you guys, and you can still sign up for it and get the replay, I'm pretty sure, which I will put
Yeah.
in the show notes. And then I'll put the link to the accelerator. And then is there anything else that you want anyone to know about the social accelerator, or where they can find you, or anything else that you have to offer? And then I have a few more questions I want to end with.
Totally. Yeah. Well, for the social accelerator, we also have a freebie that will attach as well, where you can just learn a little bit more about kind of like some of the secrets that are in social media strategy, but then also combined with astrology. So you can check that out. And if you like it, definitely join. It is an accelerator, it's 6 weeks. And so this is going to be something where if you're someone who likes to go fast and gain traction and momentum, then that's my energy. So, like, that's what, I hope that you'll take a look at it. And then, yeah, connect with me on Instagram. That's where I'm very active. And it's at Natalie Holbrook.
And you wanted to do the social accelerator during Pisces season. And
Hmm.
how come you wanted to do it? I forgot why you said that. Because it
Yeah. So, a couple
starts,
reasons.
yeah, tell us the
So,
reasons.
okay. Totally. So Pisces is the last sign of the zodiac before Aries, right? And we kind of have this like astrological new year, which is the spring equinox, which is March. Usually it's like March 21st or 22nd. And so I wanted us to do this firstly as like a preparation for this new energy that we're all going to feel that's going to have a lot of momentum and a lot of movement. So it's kind of like we're in this prep phase. And then the second piece is because Pisces is actually the sign of media in general, of what is it that we are creating and putting out to the public? What is it that we are essentially telling people to perceive us as? Because everything in business is about positioning. And so this is like how you can position yourself in a way that people will see you in a certain way. Like people see you in the way that you tell them to see you. Like that's like
Hmm.
business 101, and marketing 101 is how you're presenting yourself. And so Pisces does rule that. And in the masterclass, I shared how the Pisces or excuse me, Neptune, which is the planet that rules Pisces, is was found the same, like within the same 3 to 5 years as when the year of the camera was invented. And, the camera and media, that's what we do for social media, right? Like we're all on our cameras, we're all creating things, videos, all of that. So Pisces really does rule that energy of aesthetic and illusion, essentially. And that's kind of what, not that like we're all illusions, but like we're creating some type of production essentially. And it's through your authenticity that you get to say, what am I producing?
Yeah. I think positioning, I want to just dive real quick into positioning. Like when you see a woman with a lack of positioning, what does her page look like? Like what type of energy do you feel you're like, okay, this woman doesn't clearly know how to position herself? How would someone know if their position isn't great?
Yeah, I mean, like probably a page where there's no consistency, there's no
Uh-huh.
cohesiveness. She's probably not showing up and like talking. And maybe if she is, it's like bad bad lighting or like
Yeah.
there's not like captions, like it's kind of just a hodgepodge of like maybe this will work, maybe that'll work. Like it I think the word is chaotic. Like we
Uh-huh.
can sometimes feel that there's either like chaos or that there's inconsistencies, right? Where maybe there's a post from 2018 and then one from 2022 and then there's like one other one of a cat or something, like we
Yeah.
don't know who this person is and how they've branded themselves, or that also it's not clear right away from looking at your bio and at your actual page, like, what do you do? And so that's really important
Yeah.
is like, we want to look and see, oh, this person does this, and we can see exactly how to work with them, what their services are, and what my transformation is going to be if I say yes.
Yeah. And I really want to speak to women about this. Like what Natalie was saying is that we've been in a Piscean, Neptunian age where it's kind of been like nebulous and it's been a lot of emotions and feeling and merging with other people's energies and then kind of like figuring out where do I end? Where do they begin?
Yes.
Whose belief is that? Is that my belief? I don't know. And now we're moving into an age where, like Natalie said, it's about the person. And think about your friendships in your life. You love being friends with someone who knows who she is. Either you're super scared of it and you're like, I don't know, it's too scary because it feels a little bit maybe abrasive because you've been learned to hide. But sometimes your most favorite people are the people who are like, this is who I am. This is what I believe. And because as we create a society that is with women who are in their power and living in their authentic gifts in essence. Like they are a gift to the world. And we need every woman to know how to position herself so that we can create communities, societies, cities, school systems, family systems that are supportive of all of us, because each of us will be living in how we know we are. And there's a lot of programming with women of y- in the 1980s, we couldn't even own our own credit card. We didn't have our own credit cards yet. And so, like, think about where we've come from as women. There's a lot of programming around what is it like to show up as a woman in her power? What is it like to show up as a woman in business? And then think about where you come from with your parents and what you've seen. And then I just like want to give every woman, like, we need you in your power. I want to be friends with you in your light. I want you in full service, and think about the good that you could do if you were wealthy. If you were wealthy, what would you do with that money? And I know every woman listening to this would be like, I would freaking serve. Like, the people who have money and power today, we've seen what happens with that, and we need an exchange and a dispersing of the power, and we can only do that as every woman rises into her own authenticity, and therefore changing the dynamic of how businesses even run and changing where money goes. And so I think that this program that you're offering, Natalie, is so important and so like imperative at this time, because there really is a call for like, where are you of most service? Be that person. Like, what are your gifts? We need you. And that could be in any that could be fashion, that could be health, that could be mental, it could be like the service, it could be tech. Like, we need it in every facet of life. And so please rise up. And if you feel a call, Natalie is obviously so gifted. So, Natalie, just a quick few things to end with. What is one belief about money that you've had to unlearn to really step into your power?
Ooh, good question. I think I used to feel a lot of like shame around money actually. Like I felt like if I had a lot of money, then like I was bad or something, And like
Mhm.
it made me I think that was like a very deep-seated belief because I started to actually make a lot of money when I was very young and I would start to feel guilty about it. Like I would kind of go back and forth of like, "Oh my gosh, I have all this money. I'm so cool." And then I would be like, "Oh, but they don't have money and I don't want them to know that I have money." And I had to really work through that of being like, money is a gift. Money is power in the 3D, like you said, and the more women who are, great righteous women, who
Mhm.
are gonna like do something good with it, that's the hands that we need it in. And I really reworked that. And now, I'm able to we all are consistently climbing, but it's like now I see that and I'm able to call it in knowing that I'm going to use it for good.
Love that. Okay, next one. What is your go-to way to reset when your energy's feeling funky and off?
I like sit. I just like sit and breathe. Like sitting and breathing is like my number one thing. And I clear energy because I am very empathic and I will pick up other people's energies. And so I will often have to look and say, like, is this mine or is this someone else's? And is this collective? And I do something that one of my energy healers taught me called neutral separation, where you actually separate energetically yourself by the other people by actually just saying out loud 5 things that are different between you and them. And I do this for everything, actually, like any call, any interaction. And, I'd say like the difference between Caitlin and I is, 5 things. She has blonde hair. I'm brunette. She's in Utah. I'm in California. Like you say these things that are totally neutral, not like good or bad. And then you say, I send all of their energy back to them with power, love, and consciousness. And I send all of my energy back to me with power, love, and consciousness. Breathe into that, and you will feel such a huge difference. And so that's one of my top secrets.
That is phenomenal. I love that. It's such an easy way to make the division because, again, so many of us, we just don't really know where we begin and someone, where we end and someone begins. Okay,
Exactly.
last one, and then we'll wrap it up. What is the biggest, or what is one sentence that you would tell a woman or a client who's been shrinking? Like, what would you tell her?
Okay. So when a woman is shrinking and small, then other women, just by her frequency, will also begin to be shrinking and small. But when a woman is in her power and when she is bright, when she is shining, when she is confident, even if she's faking it till she makes it, then that also gives other people that permission to be big and confident and bright as well.
100%. Natalie, it has been such a gift to have you on this podcast. Thank you so much for sharing your gifts, for being big and strong in your energy. So it gives us permission to all be the same and meet you there in our own energy. So thank you.
Thank you so much. I love being in your energy. It's so beautiful and calm and peaceful and
Oh,
it's and yeah, this was such an honor.
thank you, everyone, for listening. Thank you for joining me today. If this episode spoke to your heart, please share it with another woman on her journey. And until next time, stay rooted in your humanity and devoted to your becoming.